toss it up and then archive it if people want to watch it later.
Hey, you have a mic now. Nice. Mega, I hear myself coming through your mic. Where's that go? Pretty sure it's yours. Do you have a, like, is your TV volume on or something? Or is it just your headset? What type of headset do you have? Gotcha. I guess I'll start up a custom game. Talk shop.
You did include your party chat in the recording, right?
Yeah, you should be able to hear me now on stream, I think.
I don't know if anyone's actually watching the stream right now to be able to tell me or not.
I could do that. Just to check. Okay, thank you. Excuse me. I thought I saved that game type. Oddball HCS. Unlimited. 1 round. Disabled. The run's tied. Alright, yeah.
So Brooks, are you streaming or?
No, Pseudo is.
Alright, let me check that audio then.
Yeah, my audio should be included in that. I thought someone was checking. I sent you an invite too, Hunter.
Yeah, I got it.
Hunter, what's your real first name?
Peter.
It almost sounds like you said pizza because of your accent. Pizza.
That's what I
Don't
heard
mock the
too.
accent.
Got it. No worries. Got you, man. Okay. Mega, go blue, please.
Blue.
Also, let it be known that my request for you to change your clan tag still stands. Okay. Here we go.
Oddball.
All right. So, all of you feeling like lost when you play Oddball like Mega is, or like what's going on?
I feel the exact same as Mega does with Oddball.
Okay. Does this
Yeah, we
version
played
have
oddball
rust?
like 3 times
No,
in
it
a
doesn't.
row today, and it's just, it's awful.
Yeah.
That's fine. Okay. So what, you just feel like you don't know what to do?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, does it matter whether you have the ball or not, or you just always just feel like clueless?
Only, like, the situations we were having is the enemy team would always, like, have ball, and it just be impossible to, like, get it back.
Yeah. Okay.
And then when we did get
Okay.
it back, we tried to do basically the same setup that we saw them doing, and it fell apart immediately.
I
Yeah.
see. Okay.
Oh, by the way, Pseudo, your audio, like, no one from the party's being broadcast.
You don't hear any of it?
For me. No, for me, no one's being broadcast.
Well, my audio's included.
Yeah, so it's
Yeah, this is mine.
Alright, hang on.
I don't know what's going on with it. Hang on, let me just check again. Let me just move my mic.
I do have the broadcast party chat thing checked.
Yeah, let me bring up the stream.
Alright, no, we're good now.
You can hear it now?
Yeah, it was just my Twitch messing up.
Okay,
Okay.
cool.
Okay.
So, Oddball. Welcome to Oddball 101. Obviously, it's been away from Halo for a little while now, so it's understandable for some of you to be clueless, especially those of you who were not involved with Halo back when Oddball was like an actual thing. I don't know, did they have Oddball in Halo 4? I
No.
didn't play Halo 4 much. Okay, that would be why. So, 2 games pretty much without Oddball now. Go back to Halo 3, we had Oddball. Oddball's a lot of fun. Yeah. So, Oddball's a lot of fun. I like Oddball. It's very unique from Strongholds or CTF, which I think is cool. I also like, I don't know, being the guy with the ball and being shifty. As you guys know from playing with or against me, I like being squirrely, and it is very, very satisfying to be squirrely with the ball and be successful, where your movement is basically making it difficult by itself for 4 guys who know where you are to get to you. And it's a very good feeling when you can do it right. So I like Oddball. As far as like playing Oddball, like I said, it's a little different from some of the other objective game types, so it's reasonable for you guys to like not really know too much or be too comfortable with it and what you're doing. So yeah, so let's talk about it. So let me preface this conversation by saying there are people like depending on the person, depending on the team, they're gonna have like different strategies, I guess, for playing the game. Some people are going to be very attached to certain setups on the map, where they'll want to put the ball in one spot, they'll want to put teammates in static places, and they'll want to try and cover the ball and prevent people from coming in. Then you have other people, I think that Gary is one of these people, who thinks that you should basically be rotating all of the time, and that that's really the best way to play the game. I personally am somewhere in the middle. I think that you should start with the setup, but then when you see an opportunity for a rotation, a good rotation, you take it, generally speaking. Because such a situation where you do have that opportunity for rotation is generally going to be because they're pushing hard on one side and leaving another side open. And if they're pushing really hard from one side, you know, you risk your setup being broken. Usually your setup's going to be covering multiple sides, and it's not sufficient to just cover one side, right? So let's say Hunter, you go down near the blue door, blue bend area, you're going to kind of look out there. Mega, you can, Xavier, you joined, right?
Yeah.
Can you just join the blue team?
That's one more.
Okay. Mega, go high cat. And Pseudo, just go like blue window or something. Okay, so if an enemy team sent, you know, a ridiculous amount of people through security and high cat, as much as I appreciate Mega, he's probably not going to stop before mid push by himself. So in such a situation, that might be a good situation for me to recognize that and call out, hey, you know, maybe we should rotate out to blue bend, and you know, continue to keep the ball away from the enemy team. And that's the way that I prefer to play ball, is, you know, to look for those opportunities to rotate, and not just do one or the other, but, you know, be ready to do either. Because I think that really, I think that options in this game are important. The more options you have, the more opportunity you have to make the best decisions and, you know, get the best results. So, the problem with that, and this is, you know, I guess the challenge that you guys would have with doing such a thing, is recognizing what a good setup looks like, what a good rotation looks like, and when to do either. And you have to recognize that in the moment. You know, and that's understandably like pretty difficult. And one of the things that's more difficult for you guys than, you know, it is for me, because I've been playing the game for a while, is once you, you know, when you start playing the game, and you're at maybe like the level that you guys are at now, where you're just starting to, you know, really get sweaty and think about the way that you're playing, is that sometimes you guys, you'll be more, what's the word I'm looking for? I guess you'll be more inclined to think about the game from your own standpoint, right? So you're going to see what you're going to see through your eyes. And you think about the game as revolving around you. It's almost like egocentric. It's you on the map, and then there's other people on the map. As you gain more experience and you play more as a team against other teams at a higher level, you start to understand the game differently. And instead of seeing it as a map with you and 7 other people on it, you see it as a map with 8 people on it. And when you get that understanding, that higher level understanding of the map and where all the people are on it, then it becomes easier for you to recognize, I guess, where the open spots on the map are, where it'd be better for you to push, depending on where you see the enemies, things like that. So, so those are your challenges, right? So we're going to talk a little bit about some simple things that you can and should do when you have the ball, or when you don't have the ball. And obviously some of what I'm going to say is like complicated, depending on whether you're playing with a team or just like solo queuing. But in general, you can kind of apply it to both. So first I'm going to talk about if you are a player on a team where you don't have the ball. So Mega, I'm gonna have you hold the ball. And Xavier, if you could just hang out with Mega in blue corner, just pretend that you're one person, that would be good. Pseudo, go back to your position on blue window, and I'll hang out top cat. And this is just like I said, you know, just like a cookie cutter type of setup. So the thing to oh, Sierra, do you want to join the game, by the way?
Sure.
If you'd like. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I don't mind. If you want to come in, you can. Just join the game and then switch to blue team, and then hang out in the corner. Talking Oddball 101. And, oh.
Oh, rip.
Why did the game join? That's weird.
Probably, he joined and it screwed up the max players, because he probably didn't set it high enough.
Hmm.
It does that.
Weird. It's at 8 right now. Okay.
I'll just listen.
Okay. Sierra, go blue. Thanks. That would be why. The score to win is 200, because I'm an idiot. Good job, guys. We won. Congratulations.
GG's. GG's.
Yeah, you're welcome. I'm sure that you really learned a lot in the minute that you were here. Shoot. Alright, let me change that. Get moving. Oh dear. And also, at any point, if I'm like talking and you guys are like lost and I'm just like going on about something, just like feel free to proverbially raise your hand, and I'd be happy to stop and get refocused. There we go. Let's not do that. That'd be good. There we go. Okay. And Xavier, since you're actually like not in the game, if I'm using words like here or there or something like that, you could ask me to be more specific, because I know you're not looking at it through my eyes. Or in the game or whatever. So if I'm doing that, feel free to just mention. And Sierra Pseudo is streaming and he's gonna archive it, so if you wanted to be here for like if you wanted to see just a little bit that we talked about before you made it here, you could always catch that later.
Oddball.
I'll get you a link to the Discord channel. You could just come in there and get the link if you're interested. Alright. Let me go get that ball. Start again.
So what's a good breakout strategy for getting the ball?
What was that?
What's a good breakout strategy for getting the ball?
So, in general, are you talking about like getting your body on the ball first, or like...
Or just pushing towards
at the start of the
ball
game?
and trying to make sure... Yeah, exactly.
In general, when the ball is like either reset, or it's the start of the game, or the ball is just down somewhere in open space, you generally want to set up around the ball. You want to wait until you can pick up a couple of kills to gain a like positional advantage over the other team. And then that should give you enough leeway to grab the ball and bring it to where you want to bring it.
So play it like CTF.
Yeah, almost like a flag that needs to be returned or
Okay.
something like that. If it is on your half of the map, you generally want to pick up the sleighs first, and then you can go ahead and pick it up. Because as long as you guys are set up around it, the other people aren't going to score either. Someone hold that, someone hold that. Despawn.
We have the ball.
Mega, please. Thank you. Cool. Sierra, just hang out in the blue corner. Pseudo, you're there, and... Okay, Peter's over there. So, when you don't have the ball... this is like a cookie cutter setup right now. Also, Peter, stop shooting. It's distracting me.
I'm sorry.
So when you don't have the ball, you guys could understand the weakness of our setup if me, Peter, and Pseudo are all right here, right next to the ball, right? if we're all standing literally right next to him. What is the problem with that?
Easy 3-piece.
Like,
Yeah, exactly.
Or yep, we're all standing clustered together, so it's easy to get, you know, hit by, I guess, single grenades. And
Get over there.
if, you know, if any of us die, you know, the people are already going to be right on the ball, basically, and be able to pick it up as soon as they kill us. Let's say, you know, we're talking like real life right now, right? Like fake real life. So, job of my dreams, working security, T-Swift, right? I'm not going to stand literally right next to her, you know, as we're walking through a crowd, because what good am I going to be, you know, when people are, you know, within an arm's length reach of her? You know, that doesn't do any good. I'm supposed to act as a buffer between her and whoever's, you know, creeping around, you know, being a jerk or whatever, right? You need to act as a buffer, because if I, you know, go down, there needs to be more space, you know, for my bell carrier over there to be able to adjust and make moves. So by being out here, a little further away, Pseudo's a little further away, Peter's a little further away, if any of us get slayed out,
Snipers up.
you know, someone's gonna probably kill Peter either at the bend or a little bit further. But they're not right on the ball yet. So we still have the time that it takes for them to run from where they are to where Peter is or to where the ball is for us to be able to respond. It gives me and Pseudo time to game plan, switch our positions, gives the ball time to go ahead and reposition themselves as they need to, as enemies are pushing from a new sightline. Stop doing that. You guys understand what I'm saying? The importance of acting as the buffer? So, okay. So, in general, if you can, you want to have these little setups such that your players who don't have the ball are acting as buffers. You don't want them right on the ball. You want them positioned a little further away. We're all further away, we're getting unique information to our team. We're acting as obstacles for the other team to have to overcome in order to go ahead and move on to the ball. Also, even though we're covering different parts of the map, all of these sight lines are pretty complementary, and meaning that we could all, you know, see the same spot on the map in different places. So if Peter took a couple steps forward, all of us could see somewhere on low cat. Pseudo, being in his position in blue window, can either help Peter or myself, depending on who's getting more pressure. Generally, you're going to have one side or the other in a setup like this where there's really two main pushes, because it's easier for a team to just push from one direction than it is for them to coordinate two separate pushes. Split push. So, you know, this is like not a bad cookie cutter setup, and our main worries in such a setup like this is that we don't have anyone covering Blue Alley in security, and if I'm playing a little back on Cat, I actually don't have eyes on security, so I have to be really careful about watching my radar, and the ball has to be really careful checking once in a while to make sure that nobody's pushing down from the alley. So, and in general, you kind of want to hold this setup, you want to play around the ball, stay off the ball, you want to play conservative, right? You don't want to, if I'm here in top cat and I'm shooting someone's security and I get them one shot and they back down, I'm not going to fly down in security and chase them, because I don't get anything for killing them. However, we do get points when we have the ball and I'm just, you know, away from the team. Like, I'm sorry, the longer we have the ball, the more points we get. So all I have to do is stall. And the longer I can stall any enemies that are on me, the more points we get, higher chance there is of us winning the game. Does that make sense? So, in general, you want to play conservatively. You want to, you know, be dipping in and out of cover. You want to be putting your shots on. You don't want to be overly aggressive and push for kills that you really don't need. If you have grenades, use them. If there's two people coming up in front of me and they're about to push me here, I could go ahead and I could drop a grenade. And at least for the length of that grenade being on the field, they're probably not going to push through, and that's another second or two. Find ways, basically, to buy time and keep the enemy from pressuring the ball. Does that all make sense? Okay. Any questions so far? Nothing? Nothing yet? Okay. Good. Of course, if there are questions, that's like not a bad thing, and I'm I'm happy that you have questions. I guess that means that you're kind of listening, probably. Okay. So that's a little bit about that. If I'm playing with the ball, Mega, let's switch spots. I'll take the ball, you go out to Top Cat. So, like I said, I love being the ball carrier. It really forces, if you're playing with the ball and playing with it right, it really rewards you for having strong movement mechanics. And I think with the V4 variant that they're going to end up going with, you're actually get a thrust, which this game type is not equipped to have, but obviously it's limited movement. You can't sprint or do like any special sliding or anything like that, and at least when you get your thrust, like that's a little bit more. But because you also, and your movement speed is reduced, so because you can't move as easily, it really forces you to be efficient with the way that you move around the map. Because if you put yourself up shit creek a little bit too much, you know, that might be a position where you're screwed with the ball that you wouldn't be as screwed if you didn't have the ball and your movement was more free. So it really challenges you to move around the map in a smarter way and an efficient way. Because, you know, you want to take, if I'm running like into security or something like that, I'm not going to take this route all the way in the middle of the map or whatever to walk into security. I'm going to take the shortest route with the most cover, and you know, I'll be rewarded appropriately for playing the game smart. So I like that. And another
like okay. In terms of rotation with the ball,
yeah, we'll talk about rotation.
Do you have any like specific? Okay.
We'll talk about rotation soon. I'm just still talking about like the roles right now. So one general tip that I'll have for ball movement is to think about your positioning from a micro standpoint. So if I'm standing over here in blue corner, standing right here in the middle of, you know, the walkway or something like that, if you guys want to come over here and see, like standing in the middle of a space, if I'm standing here in the blue base, standing in the middle of the space probably isn't that great of an idea because I'm visible from a lot more places than I need to be. Versus if I took a couple of steps over here, I sat on here, I cut down the sight lines leading to me by at least half. And if I get pressured from one way, I can have an easy drop into the other side. If I get pressured from the other way, I can drop onto the other side and have cover. So you want to make sure that not just where you're standing is good, but how you're standing in a spot. Like that matters too, right? So think about that. Think about making places with easy escape routes. So if I'm here in blue corner, it's good for me to just be able to hug this corner, because if I get pressured from big blue door, blue bend, all I have to do is take a couple steps, and all of a sudden, that big ass sight line that was being pushed by like 3 guys, 2 steps away, now they can't pressure me that way. And vice versa. And that makes sense? If they pressure me from high cat and the blue door at the same time, maybe I just take a couple steps backward, and now I'm completely concealed from everywhere except for blue alley. You know, give or take the nades that I have to be prepared for that they're surely going to check as soon as I leave their line of sight. So I'm ready to listen for those nades, hop back up. And by the time that they readjust to me being up here, I'll be back down here. And you'll see this a lot too. This is one really specific tip as a ball carrier on this map. If I do that little movement, I end up down here in blue alley. They see my waypoint in blue alley and they were on high cat before. A large percent of the time, especially at the ranks that you guys play at, what are you going to do? Like if you're up there, you're going to jump down, like Hunter just did. You know, you're going to see this ball carrier drop, and you're going to jump down to go chase him, get that ball, right, for your team. So, me being a slight nerd of the game and knowing my, how I can move with the ball, I'm just going to go ahead and hop back up here. They just dropped, and I'm back up here in cover. And this is the game that I play. Okay. You guys understand that? To do this jump, just jump in the air and then hold crouch.
Or you could just auto-stabilize.
Nope. You don't need to do that.
Okay. Oh.
And it makes unnecessary noise and takes more time.
Yeah. I play with crouch on the toggle crouch.
Oh, well, there's your first mistake.
It's really hard to switch.
Can't even
to
teabag right.
Non-toggle. it's difficult. I tried it. It's like it throws me off so
Why
much.
do you play with toggle?
I don't know. I've been playing like
There's
that
no
since I started
benefit
playing
to
the
it.
game. It works for me.
No, there's no benefit to it. Get off of that. You can't crouch strafe as well. It makes crouch jumping and other things more difficult. If you wanted to learn spring jumping, it impacts how you have to do that. And you don't even have a croucher on the map anymore because they changed the radar a while back. So there's just really no benefit to having it on. But yeah. So knowing the limits of the movement of the map and being able to know little jumps like that. The thing with jumps like this is that it provides you a significant change in position in a very short amount of time. In just one jump, I've elevated my position to a much more powerful position, and it's really the difference between someone being able to see me and not see me. Another one like that is I shared a clip the other day of I think I'm probably shared it. I might have shared it in a message. But basically I was Tower 1 on rig. And like people were chasing me Tower 1 because I had just like escaped from down there. And there's like alright, so let's say this is like Tower 1 that I'm standing in right now. I just need you guys to like visualize it. The R base is like right out there or whatever. The tower wall is gonna be up on my left hand side. There's like a little ledge right here on this left-hand wall once you leave Tower 1 that you could jump off of the ledge and then jump up to the tower wall and make your way up to T2. And because I was able to do that, I was able to escape T1, hop up to the tower wall, and then hop up to the tower sneaky, all in just a couple of seconds, despite not being able to sprint or anything like that. So knowing things like that around the map really make you more effective as a ball carrier. And another thing too is there are a lot of opportunities to play from elevated positions. So this is one specifically that makes me very visible all over the map, so it's not quite as viable. But the thing that is nice about playing from positions like that is that it gives you the chance to drop one way or the other as needed. So depending on which way you'll drop, that's generally a pretty different set of sightlines that you'll be visible to one way versus the other way. So it really puts me in a position to make a good call and cover myself. And the last thing that I would mention, oh, go ahead. If they were pushing through, like there have been times that I've ended up there if they pushed through. Yeah. Mhm. Yep. Yep. Exactly. Yep. Yep. Yeah, that would be, you know, a situational thing, having a head count and understanding. So, if I know that there are like two, like pushing blue alley or something like that, maybe one about to come in on the big blue door, and I'm kind of hanging out in this area here, and I know that they have one dead. That's a situation in which I could safely make my way up here. It's a reasonable position. Like that's a situation you could be in a real game, feasibly. That'd be a situation where I want to hop up here, know that that guy's going to be up in the next 5 seconds or whatever, and I'll wait to see what happens with these three guys here and how they fight with my team, and then I'll try and make a good decision depending on what happens. So if that guy at Blue Bend gets slayed out, maybe I go ahead, I'll drop and I'll hop over to the sniper if the barrels are shot. If they're not, I could go ahead and just hop outside a little bit, work my way to the bend if we were able to slay this guy out. And because those two guys were alive in the alley and we just killed the guy over here, we could probably expect the other guys, that guy who was dead, to be spawning in Tower or Red Cat or something like that. So I know at least for a little while, you know, that I have some room. And alternatively, if we were able to put really good pressure on those guys in the alley, or if I had two teammates over here that I heard, you know, that maybe one of those guys was one shot, maybe I'll just preemptively make the move over them and I'll come up behind them and punch them in the back or something like that. Because while those people are engaged, especially if I was as far away as I was, where I was just sitting in blue base, they're not going to be looking for that waypoint in the middle of a fight. And that's happened a lot too, in my experience playing Oddball so far in H5, is that I can understand that if two people, if there are people who are engaged with my teammates at close range, it's really not that hard for me to come up and, put in some work with the ball. I just have to understand that if I'm dropping down like this behind people, I have to be very confident that there aren't more people behind them that are going to shoot me in the back, because that obviously would cause some problems. The last thing that I want to mention about the ball is that this is like a really big mistake that I'll see pretty often with the ball, is that people will think that because they have the ball that they're like completely out of the fight, so they'll put themselves in a position with cover and they will sit like this, and they will sit there until they die. And the problem with that is that being static like that gives the other team opportunity to chuck grenades where you are, because they can count on you just sitting there. They can take the time if they need to, if they have a lead especially. If they want to go ahead and set up a push with their team, dependent on where your spot is, and they're going to make a strategy to push your team a certain way based on how you're set up. Your being here in one spot gives them a pretty good opportunity to do that. So what I try and do with the ball too, especially if my team is set up properly with some good buffers, if you guys want to, set back up how you were before Mega Top Cat. See how I come back here. So now, because they're set up as, at those places, assuming they're like communicating appropriately and calling out where people are or aren't, if Mega hasn't called out that there's anyone near security, and there's a lot of heavy pressure going on, Pseudo and Peter call out that they're getting a big push from Turbine or something like that, then I know that the probability is that I'd be pretty safe to walk all the way down here, even to Blue Alley, without really being pressured, because we saw 3 people outside on the opposite side of the map. And even if they want to go ahead and hop up on low cat, move all the way up to the bend and try and shoot me out here in open space, couple steps and I'm back into cover again. And by me moving around this way, I can go ahead and hop back up here, the high cat. I can stop, I could bring it into the base, and because I was just over there near Blue Alley, I just moved it down from Blue Corner. That team maybe would prepare to start to turn themselves away from my guys who are in the setup. They'd start to prepare for, oh hey, he's taking it security, what are we going to do? And by the time that they go ahead and they talk about that a little bit more, it doesn't matter because I'm sitting back in blue base. And by moving this ball around within the setup, it forces them to continue to change what they're doing on the fly, and especially with the ranks of the guys that you guys are playing at right now, just this simple movement with the ball within the space is going to keep people with their heads on a swivel. And that allows your team the opportunities then to get easy shots on, maybe get some picks with the sniper rifle for people who are no longer looking at them. Let's say Peter had the sniper towards Blue Bend, he was ready to back up if he needed to, if he got kind of pushed. Let's say I bring that ball over to, Blue BR, or I start to maybe fake like I'm going to move it into security. People who were in Turbine, were pushing Red Bend, they're going to move out into Low Cat, they're going to move out onto Red Nest, and then all Peter has to do is take a couple more steps out, and he's shooting people on the side of the head with the sniper rifle. And that all got set up just because I took the ball a few steps away within this safe space. Does that make sense?
Ball dropped.
Yeah.
We have the ball.
Yeah, definitely. That makes sense.
Ball dropped. We have the ball.
So rotations. So you generally would want to hold the setup for a while if you guys really aren't being pressured, because if you aren't being pressured, then there's really no reason to change places, because what's going on is going well, right? So now, the importance of the way that I like to play the game, like I said earlier, and understanding when to rotate, when to just hold the setup, is to it's a numbers game, really. Thinking about where everyone is on the map, how the spawns work, and that allows you to make good decisions as a team for putting your team in the best possible place to succeed and score more points. So rotating, and how you get those numbers, obviously, it's going to come down to what I am seeing, what my teammates are seeing, what is being communicated, what we see in the kill feed. All of these things are going to be able to suggest how many people there are in certain places. So Peter's out there in blue door, Pseudo's hanging out in the window, Mega's back out on top cat, and we're, keeping account of where the enemies are at. If Peter dies because they just pushed him like a bunch of savages, like 3 guys on the bend, basically between the bend and the turbine, then I know that it's like, hey, they're making a very strong push from that left side. So it's not good for me to move towards them. If I continue to sit here, I have Pseudo semi in a position to kind of hop in front of me if he needs to, take some shots and try and slow them down. But there's 3 guys pushing. And even with some assistance from Mega on top cat, that's still like a very tall task to ask of them. So we don't need to win the fight altogether. We don't need to get the slays. We don't need to kill those people. We just need to keep the ball. So if that's that opportunity where they're pushing in and the setup isn't threatened, we're being threatened to, our setup is being threatened instead of being broken, then it's time for me to move. Maybe I'll even decide to ball drop a little bit, get a little extra movement speed. I don't have to carry it the whole time if I don't need to. It's more important that I keep the ball away from the enemy team. And I could go ahead and continue to hold the ball once I move into a place that we could set up for a while. So either I could move it into security and we could set something else up, or I can continue just moving it through to the red base or something if I, it depends on what the team is up to and what the call is. But the goal is just to keep it away from the enemy team. And if the enemy team is pushing very hard on your setup from one place, moving it away from them is generally not a bad idea. You just want to do it right. Your teammates have to, they can't just run with you, they can't run ahead of you. They have to, continue to buy your team time. So Pseudo has to maybe move into the base, put some shots on, throw his grenades, and that buys you a little bit of time. Mega has to stay top cat, he has to keep shooting at them. Because if he just comes down in security with me, there's nothing that's stopping them now from running just straight across the middle of the map. Other than maybe whatever shot Pseudo could put on, right? So you have to think about how you add value when your team is rotating. If you have the ball, you add value by continuing to keep the ball away from the enemy team. You stay in cover as much as you can, and if you have to cross open space, you do it as quickly and as efficiently as possible. And another responsibility as a ball carrier, let's talk about rotating it the other way then. Let's say we're getting a strong push from high cat and security. That's a very feasible push because the enemy team is spawning in red base, red cat. It's not going to be out of the question for them to want to push through there. That's 2 unique sight lines that they're going to get, which you'd be inclined to say that would be good pressure on the ball because you're pushing from 2 different places, even though it's the same side, complementary sight lines. That's a feasible push, right? So we see that they're making a strong push from that side. Now I'm ready to go ahead and move it out this way. And on certain maps like Eden and on the rig, positions like this in particular are very valuable outside near a bend like this, because if it seems that our setup is going to be broken and we're going to lose control of the ball, maybe this base is too open, they played it very smart. They sent 3 guys through that side that are now pushing through the base, and they have 1 guy who's playing conservative out here in the bend, maybe with, maybe like a power weapon, maybe a Hydra, maybe a sniper, and it's making it difficult to push him, and we're getting collapsed on. That's a pretty shitty situation to be in, right? So rather than give up the ball, as a ball carrier, I have to be prepared like, hey, if we're going to lose the setup, then I need to drop it off this edge behind me. Because even if they kill us all by dropping it off the edge, between the time that it takes to reset and the time that it takes the enemy team to make their way to where the ball respawns, our team will already be respawned and we'll be making an even fight on the ball. So instead of losing the ball completely and the enemy team winning that situation, we're at least drawing even and another chance to fight for the ball in the middle. One mistake might be that I see that happen like often too with some lower level players, because I mean it's possible to make like smart decisions and drop the ball off the edge, but they'll see that and they'll be ready to drop the ball off the edge whenever they're pressured. And that's really bad if your team is holding the setup fine, because it forces your team to fight that 50-50 in the middle when they really didn't need to. You guys already had the ball, you guys were set up, and you were able to milk more points out of it. And, you know, you're playing games that are decided by 20 or less points pretty often. I played the other night, and I think like 4 of the 5 games we played were decided by under 20 points. You know, that's the difference between that one mistake happening or not happening, someone dropping it off way too early and giving up our team's possession that we didn't need to. But in general, that's the value that comes with playing near edges like this, is because it gives you the freedom for that free reset, if need be. If we're in this position over here in blue corner, and we have that setup that we're talking about initially, if I get collapsed on here, I'm not really going to be able to bring that ball anywhere that the enemy team won't be able to get to it by the time our team spawns. And then that gives them the freedom to take the setup that we had, and then forces us to be in the same position that that team was just in while we had the ball. So even though I don't have an edge near me as a ball carrier, if I'm getting collapsed on, I think my team is going to lose the setup, I can even move it out here and just throw it into the middle, which the ball's not going to reset, but they do have to send someone all the way down here to chase it.
We have the ball.
And then they have to go ahead and hurry up and get back into wherever, to bring it back to wherever they want, which that does buy some time. And, the more time that they spend chasing after the ball and not getting ready for you to push is, it's a good thing for your team. But those are the types of things you have to think about as a ball carrier. And, like I said, when to rotate is just a matter of knowing where people are on the map and thinking about how long it takes for them to get to you. Not just in terms of running in a straight line, but also you have to keep into account how many teammates you have in between yourself and them. You have to take that into account. You have to think about how your teammates are able to slow that enemy team down or not in getting to your new position. Playing Tower 2 on Rig, I really like a lot, because obviously you're able to bring it out to yellow corner if you needed. You could drop onto the drill plat. You can drop onto T1. If you're sitting up in the tower sneaky, it puts you in one of those situations like we were talking about earlier, where you're sitting here on a ledge, and depending on whether you drop one way or the other, you're completely covered now from one half of the map that you're exposed to the second before. So it gives you an easy opportunity to make a decision and keep the ball in cover. And even sitting on the tower sneaky, or like Tower 2 or something, it gives you another option of dropping the ball off the edge if you're going to get collapsed on and you need to drop it off so that the other team doesn't get it. It gives you a lot of freedom. And options are really going to be the name of the game for your team in Oddball, I think. Putting yourself in those positions to not just get screwed, but to try and make the right choices. I think that's really going to be where you guys are going to see success. It's when you put yourselves in those positions to make those judgments, and when you're making those decisions, when you're making the right decisions. That's when I think you guys are going to see success. So, anyone have any questions? Anyone? Anyone?
No, I don't have anything.
So, I mean, I just talk a lot. I could understand that it'd be like easy for you guys to like tune out or whatever and just like start daydreaming. So I don't know if that's what was happening or if you were just like taking it in, because I know it's a lot to take in. So if that's the case, then that's fine. Yep, it's the name of the game, man. It's the name of the game. Yeah, there are people who, I'm not saying that getting slays isn't important when you have the opportunity, but when you prioritize getting those slays in a way that you sacrifice your positioning and set up to do so, it's not the way to go. You got it.
So I've got a question.
Yes, please.
How do you decide when you're the ball carrier when to drop the ball and start shooting?
Yep, okay, so that's a good fight. So that's a good question. I meant to actually talk about that when I talked about the ball carrier not being quite so defenseless. So in general, like I said, I try and think about it like a numbers game, right? I think about how many people are coming from different positions, and if I see that there's an opportunity where, hey, you know, maybe we don't have the advantage in a certain situation, then I'll take that opportunity to drop the ball and go help win the fight, and I can go ahead and come back to the ball. Or a different teammate could pick it up who isn't engaged. So let's get back in that example setup. Peter, move to the door. Sierra, you can come hang out with me, pretend that you're like my shadow, and Suda's up there. So let's say that Mega is in a one-on-one in security. He's playing from Top Cat. He's fighting someone in security, and he calls out that they're one shot, and maybe that they go blue security or something like that. That's a pretty good opportunity for a pick, and if I'm already pretty much here, where I'd be able to look in that window where that player just backed up into cover, it doesn't take me that long to drop, pick up the kill, and pick the ball back up. That's a situation in which it's a pretty big benefit that we were able to get that slay, keep the pressure off from that angle, and all I had to do was drop the ball for a second. That's not that big of a deal. Let's also say that... Oh, go ahead. No. Oh yeah, you're not actually a player on our team. Yep, no, you're actually not a player on the team. You're just... Yep, no. These are our four. It's me, Peter, Pseudo, and Mega. You're just my shadow. Like, not a shadow in the game. You're literally just my shadow. Like, we're pretending you're not here. Yep, exactly. I'd be the only player who'd be able to take that shot. That's what you're getting at. So yeah. Another thing, let's say that that fight isn't going Mega's way. Maybe he's going to go ahead and he's going to get pushed. Maybe he's one shot and that player is pushing. Then that's a situation in which I might have to be prepared to drop the ball if that player comes up on a cat. Or Pseudo can go ahead and pick that guy up, and I could come into cover either way. If maybe Pseudo's already dead, Peter's still out here on the bend, and he calls out that there's two pushing him, the only one who's in position to really help him at that point is me, because we're counting on Mega to still hold out over there. Maybe Mega's engaged with someone else over there, and Peter's on this 2-on-1. So that's a situation in which, well, I do want to hold the ball as long as possible, but if Peter dies, there's nothing that's pushing those two guys through, you know, keeping them from breaking our setup, and then pushing me right after they kill him. So in such a case, maybe that's a situation in which I want to just drop the ball here. I'll go ahead and I'll fly out to Peter, either through here or up through snipes, and I'll try and do what I can to help that fight move into our favor. Even if I am not able to get shots on, just being able to buy time by throwing grenades and things like that, you know, that adds a lot of value to a fight and makes it a lot more even. So in general, you want to try and pay attention to where your threats are to your team, and you know, what is threatening your setup and being broken. And if there's a situation in which there's a serious threat for your setup to be broken, then it's generally worth it to go ahead, drop the ball, and you know, move and, you know, just handle the threat, whatever needs to be handled. I think that the numbers are the biggest thing when you're playing with people like regularly and you start calling out like specific names because the way that specific players matter, like if you're a pro team or something. It's a big difference whether, you know, you're talking about some AM scrub pushing my guy over here, you're talking about Frosty, you know. So basically you want to look at possibilities where the difference of one person could really be winning or losing that fight, and winning or losing your setup. And if it's, you know, looks like it really could swing that one way or the other, depending on whether you were there or not, in general, it's a good idea to go ahead and get moving. If your team only needs a few more points, and like you only need 5 more points anyway, and it doesn't matter if your setup's being broken because they have to do is hold it for 5 more points, just do that. But, you know, otherwise... you want to just try and think about that. You want to weigh those things against one another. Holding the ball for a few more seconds or keeping your setup. Make sense?
Yeah.
Do you have any like specific questions about how I'd weigh like I don't know, certain things or certain situations, I guess. Like anything specific, or you were just kind of asking like in general?
Mostly just in general.
Okay. Another thing that might be worth dropping the ball for if you needed to, especially if your team is like rotating for power-ups and things, because like OS spawns on this map. So if it's time for OS to start to come up, it wouldn't be unreasonable for me to go ahead and drop the ball here at the bend and have all 4 of us playing for the OS, because we're really not that far from it. And if the other team was spawning in red base or something like that, or even if a couple of them are in top cat, it's not that big of a deal for us to grab that OS and use it to, you know, work back on the ball. So playing for maybe power weapons and power-ups, I think that those would be other situations in which you might want to consider dropping it. But like I said, it depends on the numbers of the game and thinking about whether you really need to or not. But sometimes it's definitely like worth it. Any other questions? Anyone? Hey, kid. Yeah, I just finishing this up. So.
I don't
anyone?
have anything extra.
Yeah, I don't have anything either.
So obviously that's like a lot that we talked about. We just sat here for over 37 minutes, 38 minutes because we had to restart this actually. So I know it's a lot to take in, but Pseudo streamed it. It's going to be archived, so I would recommend that at some point you go play for a little bit now, and then like tonight or tomorrow, watch the archive, and then we're also going to probably watch back through it and then like record the notes in text, so it's easier to reference. And then, you know, in general, it'll be like, you know, things you should probably be doing if you don't have the ball, things you should be doing if you do have the ball, things to consider, you know, when to drop the ball, when to rotate, etc. And maybe a couple of recommended setups, or example, bad setups on maps. I think that could be pretty valuable, but I think that'd be worth writing up. So, yeah, I think that's what I got. Okay.
Ball dropped.
So,
Alright.
if that's it, I'm gonna go ahead and end the game. There are 4 of you. You guys can go get together, have some fun, and hopefully you have a little bit more success. Like I said, it's a lot to think about, and the point is, even if you actually start playing worse because you spend so much time thinking about it, or because you make these wrong decisions, that's fine, because you could like learn from that. But you can't learn from not knowing how to play the game and then just doing whatever feels right. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So, like, don't be afraid to go make mistakes and learn something. That's fine too. Alright? Alright. Sounds good. You boys have fun.
Alright.
See you, Brooks.
Yeah, thanks.